Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming here today for Conquering Stress in grad school and also undergrad. We'll do brief introductions before getting into the presentation. My name is Alex. I'm a Master's of Public Health student here.
I'm Caden Benzinger, and I'm a counseling student.
I'm Bryn Winegar. I'm a counseling student as well.
And just a real brief background on each of us and how we got here in this academic process. My background is in health and EMS and really more patient focused. I've really enjoyed writing, and writing is a very, very useful tool, which is part of why I've stepped into and very excited about the writing coach position that I have here with the Graduate Student Success Center. It really is quite a unique opportunity to be at this level of schooling and be able to contribute to the field that you're interested in. So very excited to be working with students and helping them progress their writing as well.
Yeah, and I'm also a writing coach at the Graduate Student Success Center. Being a counseling student, I work a lot with people. We also do a lot of writing, so I felt like those went hand in hand. And obviously with the background in mental health and stuff, I think stress and stuff like that is a really important topic to discuss.
And as a counseling student, I love working with people. I'm a little bit more behind the scenes. I help with the theses and dissertations after they've gone through the process. I finalize them, but I can definitely help with any formatting that anybody may have with their theses and dissertations. So.
Awesome. So if any questions come up throughout the presentation, you're welcome to ask. We will take questions at the end as well, and we'll get right into it. So conquering stress in graduate school. To start out this morning, I'm going to introduce a breathing exercise that we can all do together. The first one that's up here on the board is an active sign exercise. So essentially we'll be taking a deep breath in, taking one more deep breath on top of that, and then as we exhale, you can let a verbal sigh out, letting go of your chest, your diaphragm. There's another exercise as well, which is the box breathing. It's one that I use more often on a day-to-day basis, but just to get going here today, we'll do the active sign. You're welcome to close your eyes if you would like. I'll leave that up to your discretion. But if we would all like to go ahead and just take a nice deep breath in, and another small breath, and as we exhale, go ahead and sigh, letting that go. Doing this a few times really can make a big difference and helps us relax our nervous system. The box breathing is very similar, but it's more consistent breathing. So it's 4 seconds in, holding for 4 at the top of the breath, exhaling for 4, and again holding. Helps really regulate the nervous system, helps regulate your breathing, and effectively eliminate the stress and anxiety that we might otherwise be feeling. Part of the reason that the breathing exercises work so well is because it's regulating our nervous system. Just to give us a brief overview of that, we are primal beings. We have a parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic is our fight or flight when we're feeling nervous or scared. Traditionally, thousands of years ago, we might be running away from a lion. Our sympathetic nervous system would kick in and we would evade that situation to survive. Nowadays, our body doesn't necessarily, we're not facing lions, but our body doesn't recognize the difference between that stress and, let's say, a stress for a paper or a presentation. So taking a step back, we're able to recognize we're not in a life or death situation. We don't need to fight or flight in this scenario. And we can get into our bodies, get into the parasympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic is your rest and digest, so it's going to be your more relaxing state. It's going to be more of a sense of calm and safety and a little bit more peace. What if all my systems are nervous? Well, that is part of why we have so many great little exercises, including the breathing, including things like meditation and other somatic practices. So, pro tip for regulating your nervous system: the mind and body really are intimately connected. You may or may not be able to just reduce the stress by your thoughts alone, but by using our thoughts as tools, communicating with our body, we can relate that stress to calm ourselves down. So, essentially, by going through our body, we can calm our mind. And by breathing, things that are showing our body is in a safe and peaceful place, we're able to, in exchange, communicate to our mind that we're also safe. We don't need to be stressed. So it's essentially using your body to communicate to your mind that we are safe and that the stress that's present is okay. So with that being said, a few of the common stressors, this can look unique for everyone. There are more than what's on this list, and some may be more stressful to one person than another. But graduate school, undergraduate school as well, a lot of the common ones, more demanding coursework. So higher level of writing and reading, perhaps just more work that is due that adds to your stress. Managing the schoolwork, managing the job outside of school with a more rigorous schedule is again contributing to stress potentially. Maintaining a healthy lifestyle, so making sure that we do get enough sleep, that we're getting the exercise, we're getting the nutrition that we need, all helps mitigate stress, and if we're not doing those things, we might feel additional stress from it. So there are other things like family and relationships that can cause stress, and then one thing like establishing connections or a peer support system can be very useful. Not doing that, we might feel isolated and again feel more stressed. So imposter syndrome could be another one, but I will say, you made it into the program, you made it into school, you do belong here, and your peers and everyone here is here to support you. So just continuing to work through those. Financial stability with the increased workload, that can be challenging, and then deciding next steps as you're working on your thesis, as you're working on your dissertation, as you're thinking about how this contributes to your field in real life or in the professional field, making those next steps can be stressful. So these are just some things to keep an eye out for and to expect a little bit of stress when they come up.
Before you're helping others, you must first help yourself. I put this up here because I think this is a common trap people fall into. They try to do it all, get the good grades, be the top worker at their employment, and then also try to be there for others. There's just times where you're not going to be able to do that. And so if you aren't okay yourself, how do you expect to help others feel okay? And so I just wanted to make sure you guys know it's okay to say no and to prioritize yourself, because there will be times when you need to do that, and it's going to be better for yourself and also the person that you're trying to support. And with that in mind, we also have the Healthy Mind Platter here. This is 7 principles that support optimal brain health, and as you know, since the mind and body are connected, optimal brain health is going to contribute to optimal body health as well as spiritual health. And it's really important to have peak brain functioning in grad school because it's going to be stressful, and there's a lot of times where self-care kind of comes second, and so it's really important to do that to avoid burnout. Just really focus on these principles and really going to help. A really important one here is sleep. Adults on average need about 7 to 9 hours at night, but that can vary for anyone. I know myself, I need about 8 hours to feel all right. If I know some people who sleep on 5 and they're perfectly fine, it's just finding that healthy balance that works for you. Poor sleep hygiene, that kind of comes with a lot of things, overconsumption of caffeine, too much screen time, insufficient exposure to natural light. Another big one that's not talked about a lot is the time you last consume caffeine. Some people, I've heard they struggle sleeping, but they had a Red Bull at 6 p.m. So, their body's going to take a while to actually break down that caffeine, so you're going to be awake for a while. So it's just being mindful of those little things. But when you do have poor sleep hygiene, a lot of people turn to alcohol or other medications like NyQuil or ibuprofen PM to help fall asleep. And that can turn into a kind of slippery slope of a habit where every night, you're either taking that ibuprofen or you're drinking to fall asleep. And so it's being really mindful about having good sleep hygiene to not fall into those bad habits, because sleep can have so many negative impacts on your body when you don't have enough of it, such as mood, memory, ability to concentrate, balance. And all these things are going to be really important to make sure you're performing optimally in your grad school program or undergraduate. Physical time is also a really big one. They recommend about 30 to 60 minutes of aerobic exercise 3 to 5 times a week. And aerobic exercise is really just anything that moves large portions of your body. It's not that classic idea of going to the gym and pumping iron or hitting the treadmill or anything. It could be as simple as just going for a walk, a jog, or it could be that lifting the weights at the gym. It's whatever works for you. But it can be really hard to fit in physical exercise during graduate school. There's time constraints. You may not have the money to get that gym membership or the equipment you need. You can be intimidated going to the gym. There also can be family commitments, work, or you're physically not able to do certain things. Exercise just has so many good benefits for not only your mental health, but your physical health as well. And it's something you definitely want to fit into your graduate school career, but if you can't, it's also just as important to give yourself grace. Because I know there's times I try to go work out and sometimes I don't have time, and so it's easy to be hard on myself, but if you allow yourself to give yourself that grace, it's going to be a lot better for you in the long run. The last principle I'm talking about today is going to be focus time. This just involves managing your attention on one specific task. This could be something work-related, or it could be something not work-related, like a puzzle or a crossword or anything like that. And fixating on one task helps support the prefrontal cortex of your brain, and including your executive functioning. And for those who don't know what executive functioning is, it's your brain's ability to control your other cognitive abilities. And then that ability to focus or refocus is a skill that you train over time, and as you keep doing that, your neurons will actually start remembering that and kind of start firing in that way. So it's a skill you build. And today in society, we have our phones and a lot of just different distractions like that, so it's really good to build kind of some method to kind of help combat those things. Like for me personally, I leave my phone in a totally different room when I'm doing like homework or things like that, because it's out of sight, out of mind type of thing. Also, it helps telling friends like, hey, I really set this time aside to study, so I'm gonna need you guys to kind of leave me alone for a little bit. Maybe it's for going to the or you want to go to the library or something. It's just finding a routine that works for you and allows you to manage on that one task for that time period.
All right. So the first principle I'm going to talk about with the Healthy Mind Platter is playtime. Playtime is activities outside of your regular routine that are spontaneous and fun. And so there can be a lot of different things that you can do with this. I think one of the things I like to do is hone into what I would like to do, what I like to do when I was a kid. You know, finding things that are fun and exciting that I can participate in. It gives us a novel experience and helps our brain form new connections. And so there's a lot of benefits to that, including decreasing anxiety and depression, building other healthy relationships, emotional regulation, strengthening your immune system, lengthening your life, and overall helps with our parasympathetic nervous system. So some ideas of things you can do as a grad student if you're busy to have fun, right, is just spontaneously dancing or listening to music, singing along. Singing to music actually really helps our brain if it's happy music. Sometimes I like to listen to depressing music, and I don't think it does the same thing for us. But just finding ways to have adventures and laugh with others as well. And also connecting time is on this slide because you can easily pair playtime and connecting time. This idea of connecting time is literally just finding ways to connect with people around you, or maybe even connecting with yourself. It gives us a sense of safety. So again, that parasympathetic nervous system tells us that we're safe and we're in a place where we're okay, we can rest. When we're with other people, we get that feeling because, you know, back when, if we had people with us and there was a tiger, we had a better chance of survival, right? So now we still have that sense of safety with people. And so some ideas of doing this could be calling a friend, going to dinner with somebody, even just having a conversation before class with somebody, because sometimes we just are out of time, right? But we can still talk to people before class or after class. I also really like to connect with myself sometimes and journal or spend some time reflecting on goals that I have for myself. So, all right, and then time in is this idea of focusing on the here and now, and it's the mindfulness, again, that Alex kind of talked about earlier. So focusing on mindfulness, our thoughts and emotions and the sensations that we're experiencing. So some of the things we can do to take time in are somatic breathing, meditation, yoga, Pilates, and mindful eating. I don't know about y'all, but I like to pull up a YouTube video when I eat. So we're gonna do that? I don't know. It's easy, right? It's just fun to have something to do. Mindful eating is trying to remove distractions and just sitting and thinking through the sensations of eating, right? So just something as simple as that every now and then can help with this idea of time in. And then downtime is the last one that we'll talk about. This is letting our minds just do nothing and wander. So finding activities where we can just daydream, we can just let our minds run through whatever they want. There's not really any reins on what's going on in our thought process. We don't have to worry about an assignment or anything. We can just sit somewhere and just color or spend some time without intention. So this just helps our brain have a little bit of freedom and not stress about things and have just a moment where you can breathe a little bit. Awesome. So to wrap up just this conversation with the Healthy Mind Platter, we wanted to talk about burnout. burnout is the concept of getting to the point where you can't function anymore. You kind of run yourself dry and you're out of energy, out of motivation. And so we have this stoplight here because green means go, yellow means slow down, and red means stop. Now in Idaho, I think yellow means speed up. That's what I've discovered. If you guys aren't from here, you may find that that's the case. I think sometimes we do that too, right? We kind of feel like we're getting a little run down, and instead of slowing down, we just like go harder and we go faster, and then we get into the red, and then we're totally, out of luck at that point because we can't function. So we want to avoid that, and we have like this gradient in between where you can kind of see where the green and yellow are kind of meshed, and it's turning there, and you can see that with stoplights too. If you're real good, you can be like, that light's about to turn yellow, right? You can tell. And so we kind of have to do that with ourselves and recognize when we're in these areas that are kind of borderline or we're about to be somewhere, so we can try to take care of ourselves and observe that. So something that's helpful that I've done is just write down some of the symptoms that I have to recognize my own burnout. I'll tell you all some of them. So green for me, I feel like I can socialize and talk to people, and my house is clean, my cat's happy, I'm happy, and I'm responding to friends, I'm talking to people, and I'm able to complete my homework assignments pretty well. When I get more into the yellow, I have this like chronic inability to respond to text messages. They just like build up, and I'm just like, I'll get to them eventually, right? And so I can tell I'm kind of getting more into that yellow zone when that happens. I usually have a desire to cancel any social obligations or even not go to class. And I want to sleep instead of going to the gym in the morning. So I'll sleep in, my house gets cluttered. So that's more when I'm in the yellow, and we're kind of getting to a borderline red zone, which red is like, I will cancel all my plans. I will stay home and I will not do anything. My cat's sad usually. She wants attention, and I'm like, just a second, I'm stressed, right? Homework gets left behind, and I ignore family and friends. I don't even look at my phone, right? So anyways, I've just noticed some of those symptoms of burnout so that I know when I'm kind of feeling on edge, and I can try to take care of myself and find time to address some of those healthy mind platter principles that we talked about.
Yeah, and for me, burnout looks more like I want to sleep all the time. Like I'll sleep 12 hours, and I'm already looking forward to my nap in a couple hours. So like, it's really variable for each person, so you really just want to monitor yourself and what burnout looks like for you. We would all recommend making like a burnout handout, and so you could write down your self-care activities that you like to do when you're feeling stressed, and maybe write down symptoms of what burnout looks like for you. Maybe some signs you're falling into burnout. So that way you always have this physical thing to look back on and be like, okay, I'm feeling like I'm getting burnout. What are some things I can do that can kind of help alleviate that? And also that's kind of what the healthy mind fighter is there for. If you're feeling like you haven't had that connecting time lately, maybe that's something you want to pursue a little bit more when you are feeling burnt out.
Definitely, and I think recognizing when you're at any one of these set spots, when you're in the green, the yellow, the red, is very important. And we very intentionally put a gradient behind that because we are all human. These emotions, this feeling of burnout is going to ebb and flow. It could ebb and flow in the same day, in a week, over the course of a month. But recognizing where you are at and just being aware that that can change pretty on the dot is something that's really important. If there are some things that we know stress us out, and we can plan accordingly. So if we have big presentations or due dates, and the more we put those off, we know it's going to add to our stress, and we recognize the house is getting dirty, etc. We can take a step back with the list that we talked about creating, identify what it is that would be the most useful. Is it taking a step back? Is it maybe calling in work an hour late to make sure everything else is taken care of? Where is it in your schedule that you can make time for yourself or what you need to do so you're not getting further into the red on your burnout scale? So there's definitely an ebb and flow there, and I think recognizing that and trying to adapt as proactively as possible is definitely going to be advantageous. For myself, one of the other common things with burnout is I'll notice like the emotional regulation, right? So the more burnt out we are, we're probably spending more time in the fight or flight, and that sympathetic nervous system. it's harder to regulate emotions in that state. So when you do feel more stressed or when something happens, you might feel more upset or whatever it is. So it really can look different for everyone, and just knowing, taking some time to reflect on what that looks like, what that feels like, and then also some of the things that help you move closer to agreeing is really worthwhile. Once you're already there and you're burnt out, it's a lot harder to take that step back. So doing some of that work when you're feeling good will make it a little bit easier in the long run to stay not burnt out. So a few things to remember here is kind of overall, support is available. So Boise State is phenomenal. The graduate college is phenomenal. There are a lot of resources that we have through the university. That includes people like us that are writing coaches. We're happy to talk to you about stress, about the presentation. We're just getting to the nitty-gritty of the writing and the material. There's other options and resources through the library. Albertson's library is phenomenal. There's liaisons there, as well as a few others.
100%, and I think that leads us on to our next slide here. GradWell, that's kind of what this is all for, is trying to make sure you guys have all the tools and resources you need and need access to kind of help optimize your graduate school career. And we have our Welcome Fest coming up on the 30th here, and GradWell is always going to be here for you guys, so if you ever need anything, please, we're at the Graduate Success Center. We're just right outside this hallway in room 117. We'd love to see you there and provide any help we can for you.
Awesome, and I know professors in different programs are also super supportive. And yeah, here's some other resources if you guys want to scan this QR code. But we are happy to take questions at this time. So what questions do y'all have about presentation or anything grad school related? Yes.
How do you personally manage stress?
Okay.
You give us great examples, but I'd love to hear like a personal testimony of how you guys as busy graduate students kind of get over those hurdles.
Awesome. So Thomas is asking what we do to manage stress on a daily basis. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, I reserve some time in the morning usually for myself. So I'll do some meditation. I might go outside and sit outside for a little bit. I'll play with my cat a little bit. That's always great. And then that's also time for me to do some more like spiritual work. So like I said, the meditation, and also just like a study and kind of trying to hone in on, the mood and mindset that I want for the day. And if I have that time set aside, even if I have a stressful day, usually I can wind down pretty easily at the end of the day because I set my system up on a good note. So.
For me, it's all about setting a good time and boundaries with my time. So like I'll either have days or set out times in my days, and it's usually at night where I just don't do any schoolwork. I don't worry about anything. I just kind of do things I like to do, whether that be the gym or I go play basketball, play some games, hang out with my girlfriend or my cats. Bryn hit the nail on the head with that one. The cats are savior. But just things like that. You just want to have set routines in there and things that you can do personally that really are meaningful to you. And that's why we highly recommend making that burnout handout. Because when you're in the middle of that yellow or that red, your brain's not thinking properly. All these things that are helpful for you, they're not going to come to the forefront of your mind. So having something to reference to and have that personalized for yourself is going to be really beneficial.
Yeah, so as you can tell, it really does look different for everyone. I think for myself, when I recognize, if I know I'm going to have a stressful week where there's a lot on my plate, or if I'm feeling stressed, there's a huge connection between like your gut and your mental health. And taking the time, sometimes when we are really busy, I'll go with the cheaper or the quicker food option. And something that I've noticed makes a huge difference for my energy, for my focus, and not getting into any kind of negative space is eating healthy. And so even if that means I'm spending a little bit more money to do so, it tends to make a big difference in the long run. So definitely eating healthy really sets you up for success a lot more. Exercise for me is a huge one. And that always starts with kind of myofascial release. So foam rolling, using a lacrosse ball on my shoulders and my hips, and then going into stretching. And I'll spend 20-30 minutes on that portion of exercising. And that's a time very similar. It's kind of like a moving meditation state. I'm really just focusing on my breathing, on the sensations throughout my body, getting out of my mind and into the body. So those are a couple big ones for me. There, are other mental health services as well. There's group counseling here at campus. There's also individual options available. And I think leaning into those again proactively as possible, making it a routine thing, have been a few really helpful things for myself. So yeah, thanks for the question. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, advice specifically for like juggling work, school, and socializing. Like assuming I have like one writing intensive class that I struggle with, and I struggle socially for extra effort.
Yeah, so the question is, do we have any advice juggling work, school, and the social life, especially when that social life takes a little bit extra effort? First thing that comes to mind is you are not alone. I think a lot of people here are juggling one, if not multiple jobs and school, and we all are social beings. We all like to be perhaps more social than we are. As far as like clear advice, the less procrastination, the more you can avoid procrastination. I think the better off you will be when you feel like you're behind. I know for myself, when I feel like I'm behind, similar to Bryn, I'm not very social. I'm not going to be reaching out to friends to hang out with them. I'm going to feel guilty if I'm out hanging out with somebody. And there's 3 things that are left to do on my docket. Juggling that with school and work is more challenging because you don't have 6 to 8 hours off in some random afternoon to do the things you might otherwise when you're taking care of yourself. So avoiding procrastination lets you wake up early in the morning on a whim to go exercise or do something that works for you. So the more that you can stay on top of it, I feel like the more you can introduce things on a day-to-day basis that give you a sense, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm doing this, and we're doing well. That and really the peer support, recognizing you're not alone and you're not the only one dealing with that or trying to make that work.
I totally relate to your situation. Throughout my entire undergrad, I was working 30 hours a week at a Panda Express, so juggling my undergrad career, my work, and then also having a social life and a girlfriend and things like that. And it gets really hard. And the thing that really helped me was having a schedule that wasn't going to overburden myself. So, because once you start overburdening yourself, it's really hard to dig out of that hole, and that's when procrastination comes in. You start to kind of cut yourself off. And so it's just knowing that balance for yourself. Like for me, I knew 30 hours was the max I could work. Anything more, I was just kind of shooting myself in the foot. So it's really finding that delicate balance there. And then as far as putting the social life in there, it's kind of goes into planning time to do that as well. Procrastinating or not procrastinating helps with that a lot. But just setting times for yourself and using also the resources on campus. Like there's so many free events that go on, and there's so many people who come on. You meet so many cool different people doing things like that. So really take advantage of the college life while you're here and go to those events. That's one thing I really regret from my undergrad is working so hard I kind of forgot to live in the moment. And if you live in the moment while also getting your responsibilities done, it's going to all be smooth sailing for you.
Yeah, I definitely struggle with my social life when I'm going to school, and so I've had a couple of things that I've had to do, so I'll give you some suggestions with that. One of the things that I have tried to do is make friends with the people in my classes so that we can connect after class, and it's easy for me to go from point A to point B without having to go out of my way to go somewhere after class. Like they're just there, right? So that's something that helped me with the social aspect. I also, I have a friend who we are both so busy. She works full time. She got her master's degree already, and she's a speech pathologist, and she works really late. And so for us to spend time together was hard sometimes, so we would just go grocery shopping together. Like tasks that we had to do, but we could socialize and talk and kind of keep each other on track, and it was really fun. So kind of random, but there may be things like that that you can find that people have things that they need to do, and you can do it with them. And yeah, it is hard to balance the work and school, and I think something that helped me a lot with that was taking time once a week to kind of map out what assignments I have due, when I'm going to do them, when I have time for it, on top of the other obligations that I have. So I would literally map out like when I'm working on things, when things are due, and then when I have other obligations. And it kind of gave me an idea of about how much time I have to work on an assignment, and get it done before with work, with socializing, with all the other obligations that I have. So, did that answer your question okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. For yeah. Oh, well, yeah, so prioritizing the harder classes and getting those assignments done first so that you can, yeah, no, I think that's great. So, yeah, I love that idea. Yeah, what other questions or whatever here? Yes?
That focusing part of culture, I can do that. I mean, I want to focus on something, and I'm constantly distracted. How do you manage?
Yes, so she was asking about focus time. We live in a world that's not really created for focus. Like, you think about like TikTok, right? You get on TikTok and if it's not a funny video in 5 seconds, you're swiping to the next video, you're done, right? So we don't live in a society that really creates a safe space for focus time. Now, something that's helpful that I think we may have mentioned, but that I try to do is putting my phone away, turning it off, putting it on airplane mode, putting it in the other room, right? Just trying to find ways to get it out of sight so that it's not in my face, because that is gonna definitely cause problems. Now, focus time actually is similar to muscle building. When you lift weights, you continue to build muscle and it gets stronger and stronger. And the same thing happens as you keep focusing. So you may only be able to focus for 7 seconds instead of 5 seconds the first couple of times you try it, but that will just keep building as you keep working on it. So I would say A, put your phone somewhere else because that's distracting, right? And B, just give yourself some credit for trying and keep working on those things. And it will strengthen over time.
Yeah, giving yourself grace on little, maybe even no progress you're making is still really important. Kind of like Bryn said, cutting out all those distractions for yourself is going to be really important, putting the phone away or on airplane mode or both. And I think there's this old wives' tale or something, it was 21 days it takes to break or build a habit. And after 21 days like that, it's going to be, those first 3 weeks are going to be rough. I'm not going to lie, that's something I struggle with too. You know, I always got to watch YouTube while I'm eating, or I'm always got, game on my screen and I'm playing a game on my phone or whatnot. But as something as you practice, kind of like Bryn said, you're building that muscle over time. After those 3 weeks, I think you'll notice a big difference and that becomes more of a habit for you. And then that kind of becomes hardwired.
I think just to briefly add to that, one thing that's more of a practice that I use is music. I know some people are not a writer, of course, read with music. I will often do instrumentals, so like relaxing guitar, piano, something of similar nature, and put the phone aside, listening to music. I'm able to kind of step into the zone, if you will, and I don't notice when those songs change or anything like that, and it kind of creates my own environment where I'm not distracted by things outside of that music or the writing or whatever homework I might be working on. One book that I mentioned in yesterday's presentation about graduate writing is Deep Work by Cal Newport. I would recommend potentially checking that book out. It's really interesting to read, and he talks about how if we schedule time for deep work or focus time, then we put less effort into doing that, and it becomes easier. So if we know that's in our schedule, we don't have to push things away, we don't have to turn down plans because it's already blocked out, that focus time is. It becomes a lot easier to make it routine. So I maybe recommend checking that out. Any other questions or comments? Stress related, grad school related, undergrad, all questions or more?
I have a comment on the screen map of perfect or something.
Definitely.
So I think I found with me one more because I used it for Spotify research random stuff. And so I found that Apple's built-in app lockout thing wasn't flexible enough. So I found an app on iOS called GradWell with you can add apps to lists and block them, and you can uninstall the app, you can unlock it, or you can give someone else a password to unlock it. And there's similar browser extensions for Firefox and Chrome that lock certain sites for a certain period of time. So I still have some flexibility that I can get around if I really need to Reddit for some research, but it's been super fun.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate that. So just suggesting the phone is a tool as distracting as it can be, and so wanting to keep that phone on you was there's different apps out there. You mentioned, was it Joy?
Joy of missing out.
All right. So Joy of Missing Out can be one application that helps you kind of manage the apps, what notifications, what you're able to access on your phone. So it allows it to be a tool and not a distracting variable. It's awesome. Thanks for that. All right. Any other questions or comments before we wrap it up this morning? Well, thank you very much, everyone, for coming out here. You're welcome to reach out for any needs, any questions that you might have, anything, whether it's writing or stress-related, grad school in general. Graduate Student Success Center is here to support you, so please do not be shy.
Perfect. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. That was great. A couple things to wrap up here as we move through. I'll move over here because I'm not in the camera shot here. Thank you for all for coming. Those of you who were able to make it in person. For those of you who are going to watch this back online, we'll hopefully have those videos up soon. For those of you that weren't able to make it this week, I know this week tends to be busy schedule-wise, so I appreciate that. In front of you, here in the room, you'll see a little QR code with a little flyer that has some listed events we have coming up. We've got a lot of events that we're going to be doing for Bronco Welcome over the next 5 weeks. Is it 5 weeks? Next 5 weeks. I brought mine down. I left over here. Hold on. The idea being this year that we're, as far as the Bronco Welcome, that realizing it's not just a 1 week thing. We have our big orientation coming up here on Friday. Get everybody rolling, but it takes a little while to settle in. We want to make sure that Bronco Welcome extends into that first semester. So that being said, we're going to host a couple of events here at GradWell College. We're going to have donuts with our deans next Wednesday, the 21st. I think we mentioned it in the presentation. There's a welcome fest with GradWell coming up on the 28th. We'll have an open house in the library on September 5th. A meet and greet for all the GAs that are coming in. So any of you who are watching this or here are going to be graduate assistants. Great opportunity to come in and meet some fellow GAs, ask some questions. If you have questions about how they work, how they function, we'll have graduate college staff on hand as well to answer those questions. But it's also just a nice idea to meet GAs across campus in various places, which is always nice to do. And then we have a Pay at Social coming up on the 19th, which we'll do over at Pay at Brewing, which will also be in partnership with GradWell. All these events listed on our graduate calendar. There should be a QR code in the back of that flyer for those of you that are here to scan. For those of you who are watching back on the video, those will be up on the calendar. If you do have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to the graduate college, to me, or any of our staff, and we can make sure you get the correct information for when those events happen on those days. If I see the pattern right, these are all Wednesdays, so it flows through.
Yeah, I think there are people on Thursday.
Oh, there are Thursdays, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe so. It's orientation week, so days all run together. But that being said, we have lots of events coming up over the next 5 weeks. Grad prep today is only the beginning. Orientation on Friday, and be on the lookout. Come to as many graduate events as you can over these next 5 to 6 weeks. It's a great way to get to know who we are as well, to get to know what we can offer, how we support you, and to just meet and talk to people so that you're comfortable with your graduate college, as we're going to be here for you throughout your graduate education here at Boise State, for as long as that may take. So thanks for everybody for coming. That's going to wrap up Grad Prep for 2024. I hope to see a lot of you at orientation, and let us know if we can do anything for you in the Success Center. We are here to help you succeed, no matter what that is, whether that's email, meeting. Again, we're just around the corner there at 117. Drop in anytime if you have a question, or you just want to chat. We're very friendly. Most of the time. But we're here to help you succeed, so don't forget that, and don't be afraid to reach out and let us know what you need. So, thanks everybody for coming, and I will see all of you hopefully in the next few weeks.